Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, StrangeNet here. Now, apologies again for the lack of videos of late. I've got a lot going on at the moment, so just trying to get everything under control before getting back into EVE properly. However, that does not mean that I have been completely absent from trying to make ISK. So if you cast your mind back, we've just had the Halloween event, and this time last year I produced a video on how I'd made, I think it was around 10 billion ISK. I haven't actually looked at the video to quantify that, however, I think that's roughly what it was. So, as it currently stands, I've not logged in a great deal, but the way that I made the ISK last time was from the Warclone banks, and I've done that again this year, and all I did was go to Jitter and place a buy order, buy order for the Warclone banks at around, what, 766 and about 820 I went up to. Now these were a lot more competitive this year than last year, so I didn't get hold of as many as I would have liked. However, on the flip side of that, I'm not sure how many more I would have wanted to have bought up anyway. So at the moment I'm just going round and I'm collecting the Warclone banks that have deposited in perimeter and roundabout. I'm going to take them back to Jitter. Now, at the moment, I haven't made any actual ISK yet, for want of a better way of putting it. I am currently debating on how to make the ISK from these items. Now, these items were kind of special last year, and same again this year, but the Warclone banks, which dropped in the sites, can be taken to an NPC station in Delve and deposited there for 1 million ISK per unit. Now obviously we just saw there on the market that the price for these is varying, but basically you could buy them obviously under 1 million ISK, as I said, about 800k I paid on average for these, and you can sell them back for 1 million. Now at the moment I'm trying to sell them on the market, and you can see here I've got a sell order for 1,000 units at 949,000 ISK per unit. And this is generally what this video will be about, and it's that risk versus reward, and I'll go into more of that in a minute once we've ducked up here. So what I've done, I've brought all the bits and bobs back to Jitter just to combine them into one, because, well, it just makes it easier, because potentially, again, I have to get down to Delve. Now, this time last year, obviously we had World War B2 going on, so getting into Delve was relatively easy. I didn't struggle at all, and basically everything went perfectly fine. However, there is no war on at the moment, and, well, I'm obviously not the only person that knows about these clone banks, and yeah, I imagine there's going to be a lot more people getting ganked trying to deposit these into Delve now, because obviously goons and parties will be waiting for people that are potentially moving these items. So as it currently stands, I have 26,780 of these at a grand total. Well, let's have a look. What's the average price for these at the moment? 902k. So sell value is 26.78 billion ISK, and obviously if I was to sell these straight on the market at the moment, what are we going for? 800, so quite a substantial amount less. I can't do the maths on that straight off. Now ordinarily I was going to obviously ferry these down to Delve myself, because there's a lot more ISK to be made doing it that way, and as you can see I've got my buy order, sell order even up here, and that was put up 2 days ago. Yeah, just coming on 2 days. I did a initial sell or practice here with 100 units, roughly at the same price, a couple of days prior to that, and they sold. But again, as you can see, these ones haven't sold yet. And again, it's because it's quite high, but the initial problem or quandary that I have, let's just have a look. So to sell this item in Jitter at the moment, if I sell the 1 unit for, what was it, 950 minus tax, I'm coming out at 903,000 ISK per unit. So potentially I am losing, what, 97,000 ISK by selling them here? Well, let's have a look at that. So 97,000 ISK times, what was it, 26,800. So I'm going to lose 2.597 billion ISK if I just sell these in Jitter. And that's at a relatively high price there, bearing in mind, obviously, these shouldn't go for any more than a million ISK because you can't do anything with them. So a million ISK is basically as high as they're ever going to go. So no one's going to be, well, no one's going to be buying them for over a million ISK, as they have no other utility. So that brings me on to my second, it's not really a problem, but it's a quandary, that obviously if I ferry these down to Delve, I will be making, on average, so say I bought them for about 800k each, so minus minimal tax, I can't quite remember what it is, I think it's 1% sell it to an NPC station with standings, so 200,000, we'll go for 180,000, so we'll say 20k for selling it to the NPC station, just to be fair. So times 26, 7, 8. So that's 4.8 billion ISK I stand to make if I ferry these all down to Delve and sell them. Now that's a decent amount of ISK there, and I'd be very happy with that, considering I've literally done nothing other than put 3 buy orders up in the last 14 days, which has taken me a grand total of about 30 seconds. But, and here's the big but, I don't really want to be snaking my way through LowSec and Delve with a 24.1, wow, 26 billion ISKs worth of clone banks. Now obviously I can use a transport ship and this, that and the other, but it's still a huge amount of this to be taken in one trip. Now the trip is about 70 jumps round, which if I break this down even into half, that's 150 jumps round trip. And if I do that again, obviously then we're at 300 jumps. So yeah, am I better off just taking the hit and trying to sell them in jitter and letting somebody that is probably in goons buy them up, jump for 8 of them down and make the profit there? Because obviously they are relatively small, and again, 2,678 M3 will fit in pretty much any blockade runner, deep place transport. I get mixed up between the two, but the one with the cloak on, I could probably fit out a Tengu, to be perfectly honest, as well, with a nullifier and get that done with cloak and cargo expanders. So I have a few options, but as I say, to do it in one trip is a huge risk, and again, I guess, even in a nutshell, I guess it's ISK versus reward, risk versus reward, or risk versus reward also works, I guess. As you can see here, even from not playing, this is what I love about Eve, and again, I'll do a follow-up video on this more extensively, but I've been away for pretty much a month and a half now, and I can come back and pretty much kick off exactly where I left off, other than a few changes in patch notes and this, that, and the other. And this is why generally I don't like massive sweeping changes quickly, and this is what was the problem generally with the Trigs invasion, and that basically systems disappeared to nowhere. Eve is one of them games which is fantastic because you can just leave it alone for months. When you've had enough, or whether real life or whatever, you can come back and pretty much the basis of the game never changes, and that has always been one of the reasons a lot of veteran players return to the game, because I know that generally when I leave stuff in a station, but when I return to it, it will still be there. Because people put a huge amount of work into making ISK, producing stuff, building up inventories of stuff. And therefore, you want to know that, you know, I don't want to be tied to this game or married to it. I want to play it when I want to play it. And, you know, that happens obviously more often than not. But there are obviously things that come up, and, yeah, so Eve is unique. Not unique, but it's very niche in that fact that very little of the fundamental basics change within Eve, and that means that returning to the game even after months or years off, you can still generally get into the game because the fundamental basics are always the same, and that is one of Eve's selling points to me personally, and that I love the fact that I know what's going to happen when I undock, and there's going to be nothing weird and wonderful. So back off that tangent and back on track, and yeah, so my question is, do I make the 5 billion ISK, ferry it down myself, or do I sell it and make 2.5, 3 billion ISK? And that is the question I'm going to have to answer. But I hope everybody else made nice amounts of ISK. Again, if you have been following the channel, hopefully you noticed the clones. And again, I would have bought more, as I said at the start, but these have been quite competitive this year. I think last year I was picking them up for about 650k. So the price for buy orders here sometimes have been over 900k, and so therefore I wasn't going to buy them at that because I'm making such a small amount of ISK and having to ferry them such a long way. But at 766k to 800k, 820. I was willing to stump it up for that, because obviously risk versus reward there. But yeah, let me know how you got on with the Halloween event. Since I say I've made 5 billion ISK and I've pretty much barely logged in. Now, at the moment, there's not much going on in regards to jobs. In fact, there's nothing. So I'm going to be ramping this all back up, showing you how I get on with that and what I'm going to be doing, what I'm looking at, and how I go about basically starting from scratch after having a little bit of a break from the game. So with that, I think we'll round the video up there. Thanks for watching, thanks for your time. Subscribe if you haven't, like, comment, do all the good stuff, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Layers.